G'day everyone, welcome back to Frostbite's G.I. Joe Repro. So you would have seen in my latest video, I went up to Penrith to attend the CollectorCon up there. It was a wild time, really gave me an indication of where toys are in today's society in 2025. And that place is second place to cards, and in particular Pokemon cards. It was really unreal. So yeah, but it was great to go and see. But I think, like the big thing that sort of interested me while I was up there as well is I got to visit my favorite toy shop in Australia. This place is insane. The guy that runs it, Kyle, he's an excellent dude, very approachable, very knowledgeable about vintage toys. So yeah, I got to stop into his shop. He was very welcoming, and I took a video of the shop, um, because like I think, especially if you don't live in a big town, you can only sort of imagine what these big shops have in terms of stock. So I wanted to sort of take a video of what was there so that you guys can see what's available in these places, and also for my American audience as well, just sort of get an idea of what we think is good over here. Just noting, obviously, we don't have the expansive vintage shops that you have over there, so we get excited about shops that probably just aren't as good as what you have in the States. But over here in Australia, it's real good. And this shop, which is Second Childhood Toys in Penrith, New South Wales, it's great. I love going there. I love seeing Kyle, and I love buying stuff there. Like that's the whole point, right? Go to these shops and you get that nostalgic feeling straight up, but you also want to take a bit of that nostalgia home with you. And yeah, that's what I did. So um, let's take a look at the shop.
Okay, so here we are, Second Childhood Toys in Penrith, New South Wales. Doesn't look, like a big flashy shop from the front. It's actually in a bit of an industrial district of Penrith. But I mean, as soon as you see that great artwork on the outside, you know you've hit something special. There's your QR codes if you want to find Kyle and his magnificent shop on eBay or his website on Facebook. And here we go. So walking in, it's just so expansive. There's Kyle there. G'day, Kyle. There's just so much stuff. I always find it a bit much for the senses when I walk in, because I just don't know where to start. So rocking up, I just made sure I tried to get everything in the video for you guys. I haven't been to Lobos and some of the other shops in Melbourne, but I would have, until I go see them, I would say this is probably Australia's biggest vintage toy store. And it's, there's just so much stuff. It's difficult to sort of express in words just how much stuff there is in this shop. I actually went walking around, and we'll see it a bit later on. And I was amazed. Like, there was little alleyways and stuff that I couldn't see from the front. Now, Kyle is a massive G.I. Joe fan. That's obviously why I was there, to come and see what Josie had. You can see he's got some of I'm pretty sure they're the ROCs. He had a lot of vintage stuff. There's a Havoc. That badge was cool, the orange badge. And he had all these sideshow, I think they're sideshows, those statues. He had a heap of them, and they were beautiful. They are pricey though. His collection of these figs was really nice. So yeah, that was a mixture of original Rattler too. He had that. That was $400, I think, but it was complete. And stay tuned to the end where I'll show you exactly what I bought that day. That Storm Shadow was just gorgeous. My wife dropped me off to this shop. She took the girls shopping. I ended up spending, I think, about between 3 and 4 hours in this shop. Because, you know, when you're traveling 3 hours just to get to this place and you've got to travel another 3 hours home, I wanted to make sure that I was seeing everything I needed to see. Some more beautiful Storm Shadows there. Storm Shadows had a bit of a fall. Too many drinks, mate. I really liked how he had all this set up. It's very just clean and available to see. I mean, I feel for the dude. He's got so much stock that he has trouble displaying it all. This was really beautiful. Transformers G.I. Joe crossover. It was really nice to check out. And then the Sky Striker below it. And there's my vintage monster. Those display cases were really nice. So Kyle was happy for me to go for a bit of walk around. You can see in the background there, that was Shanko HD. Go check out his channel. He does a lot of Simpsons and car stuff. It was really great catching up with him. It's the back of the Storm Shadow figure. Now up there you'll see all those tubs. They are spare parts for vintage Joes. That's actually the reason why I love coming here, is to get all those pieces that I need. And then here started the classified journey. Old mate had a metric shit ton of classified figures. And I felt that they were all pretty reasonably priced as well. You had some nice ones there. I mean, classifieds in Australia, I find them difficult. They're definitely difficult to find in the wild, in a shop. Unless you've got shops like this around you. So obviously places like Melbourne and Sydney, your capital cities, except for Canberra, which is actually Australia's capital. Those bigger places, you won't have any problem finding classifieds, but Canberra, no. Havoc Box was amazing to see. That was an awesome set. I am by no means an expert on G.I. Joe. And it was great to just on and off have chats with Cole while I was in the shop about G.I. Joe stuff I'd never seen before. And that dude is an expert. He was telling me about all these sort of ones that I hadn't seen before. So yeah, it's probably why I was there for three to 4 hours. There's the Robo Skull. And more classifieds. You can see all those parts tubs behind there. He was saying some bastard's been coming in and ripping them off, like stealing parts, because he used to have them down the back. So he's had to put them up top, and he wasn't overly keen on going through them or letting me go through them because he doesn't want anyone going through them. And I can understand that when you've had someone stealing parts off you, you know, that's his livelihood. So that was a little bit irritating, but I did ask him if he had certain parts, and he happily went and looked for me. More of those classifieds. Bit of Sergeant Slaughter action, the Action Force. More G.I. Joe stuff. Cole had heaps there. This was, in comparison to the Collecticon, just a delight. It was great to see all this Joe stuff here, and what a selection to go through. Like an entire corner just for G.I. Joe stuff. It's about as good as it's going to get, right? That's the Loyal Subjects, G.I. Joe trading card game, I think it was. That's the Soundwave Hiss. Convention Striker, Normal Striker. That I absolutely love that statue of Flint and Zartan. Modern Sky Striker. Bit of a different Rattler there. That cup, I asked about the cups, and I think he said it'd be about $20 roughly. But it's cool. It was made in Australia. What a cool piece. It's some fangs. And I sort of appreciate, yeah, you know, Cole had a fair bit of stock sitting around while he was trying to get it displayed, but he had some really nice stuff displayed as well. It's one of these things, it's sort of the curse, right? Like you got so much stock that it's difficult to display it all, but yeah, I think that's a bit of a first world problem. TAC Cruiser boxed, Man Array. Some nice pieces. A Hiss or a Trike. Bit of newer stuff. That Arctic Blast, I thought about that. It's just cool to see that older stuff still boxed. I hadn't seen those before. Had a few of those jigsaw puzzles as well, which was cool. Especially that one, like I really liked the scene. Slam box in there. Piranha, Night Spectre. That looked like a cool old truck. Some of the newer ones. Some of this stuff I've never even seen before, so it was really cool to be able to see it firsthand. That Arashikage temple, it was expensive. It's not Cole's fault, it's just what it is with those pieces. I actually thought about seeing, like, it can't be too hard to try and design one. You had some Lego there, some cars. I was particularly drawn to the Batman Returns duck car thing there. And we hit some Joy Toy Warhammer 40k stuff. I know a couple of you guys out there like that stuff. An old Grayskull front there. So we kept moving, even more of the Warhammer stuff, which was cool to see. Some random stuff. Flash Gordon there. Ming the Merciless. Wrestling stuff. Bit of Modern Motu up the top. Then a bit of Street Fighter stuff. I quite like Street Fighter. This blanket was just so nice. And then there's the start of the display cases, like the big display cases. And, there was sort of some random fills in there. It's just one of these things you just got to go through and have a look. From what I've seen a picture, I didn't see that small soldiers guy there. Dang. From what I've seen of pictures, this place is just, it feels so much bigger than anything I've seen in pictures from Melbourne. So that's where I'm drawing my conclusions. Now, this is also where he was storing the majority of his military model stuff. There was a crap tin of it. He had some Lego stuff there. The Adidas sneaker was cool. Bit of Black Panther stuff. Some more Micro Machines. I didn't see that Micro Machine mock. Oh, because it was Star Trek. Not really a fan of Star Trek stuff. Here's the Marvel stuff. Once again, just really nicely presented. That Phoenix is sweet. The Black Panther stuff. Just, making sure you get to see everything in the shop. Because if there's something here you see that you need, you can just contact Kyle at Second Childhood Collectibles and Toys, and he'll sort you out. He had a massive display case of Robotech stuff, which was really cool to see. And I thought it was all really reasonably priced. It's cool to see that old Robotech stuff. I did notice he didn't have any of the Veritech fighters there. Bit of Mario Kart. And then we kept going around this corner. Some more Castle Grayskulls. Bit more Motu. I think that's Pit, I think. Some Kiss toys. Bit more Motu. Nice Teela sitting up the back. Some Simpsons stuff. Some more Motu. Bit of Doctor Who. Surely Glenn from AFI Toys has been in there. He lives around that area. There's Massive Voltron. I ended up, I was looking at that a couple of times. It was real nice. I'm really happy with what I ended up purchasing from Kyle. So I'm excited to show you that at the end of this video as well. All the Motu stuff sitting at the bottom. Bit of Power Rangers. There was some odd things in there. Bit of Wizard of Oz. Mario. Old Duke Nukem. Hail to the King, baby. That was cool to see. The Willy Wonka stuff. I've never seen that before. Garbage Pail Kids. And then that Inspector Gadget Dr. Claw car was awesome. Awesome to see. That thing is expensive. A bit of Flintstones, the modern Flintstones, like from the movie. you may notice lighting wasn't great in some of these sections, and that's my fault because I'm using a new camera, using a GoPro, so as you can sort of see in the reflection. So this was actually the first time that I'd used it. So I'll know next time to use a bit better lighting. I had some masked stuff there. That Raven was awesome to see. Bit of NBA. I think that was Constantine. Some Spawn. They were pretty awesome, those Spawn figures. I quite happily stand behind my statement of this shop just probably being the best in Australia. I mean, everyone that watches this that is Australian will probably come back and go, nah, this one in Melbourne's better, or you haven't seen, yeah, that's cool, bro. This shop is massive, so, and the range of toys is ridiculously good. Bit of aliens, bit of monsters, the weird stuff I don't know about. And there was a bit more of the military stuff, actual military model stuff. I mean, somebody's got to be collecting that stuff. Not me, but somebody. There's all the military models. There was so many. Seemed to be a lot more focus on land models too, if you're interested in that stuff. There's a lot of land stuff, so tanks and jeeps and stuff like that. Don't know what that was. That was the little area devoted to Fast and the Furious, which is cool. Darkness, and a whole bunch of these Marvel busts. Like a whole bunch. And they look great. And we ran into the Toxie. So that was cool. That was sort of a mismatch of stuff. And we walked back around. Some cards. Pokemon cards they were. You had this cool figure there, this SAT thing. It reminded me a lot of Shockwave from G.I. Joe. Just very much like the 12-inch G.I. Joe, like the bigger doll, older doll looking one. And it had, all the accessories in it and sort of cloth and, I'd never seen it before. Did pique my curiosity. Some more busts, more models. So many models. This area was sort of the random area. So Buffy, Star Trek, a bit more Snoopy. It was sort of this area of just more random stuff. Bit of lovely Simpsons, Quickie Mart. As soon as I saw Simpsons stuff in there, I said to Kyle, gee, Shanko must pop in a fair bit. And he's like, yeah, bro, he just, he's in here quite a lot. I'm like, right. Matrix, the old coin banks. They're definitely an Australian thing. Bit of Witcher. That Ghosts and Goblins thing, I looked at that pretty hard too. You don't see stuff like that. There's a bit of Eric Draven from The Crow. And then there was this loose area, all packaged, and just crap loads of loosies of different things. And that was sort of a cool area. Like I flicked through that a fair bit. I tried to capture as many of these titles as I could for you guys, just so you could see the assortment that was there. Like Tex Hex from Bravestar. It's so funny going through this video again and realizing what I missed out on and should have bought that day. So it's a great place to go and get your Lucy marbles if you want some, if you're into that sort of thing. Some nice combo packs. The Bishujos. That Black Widow one was really nice. Some of the bigger statues. And then actual Marvel hardcovers. Star Wars. Man, I have never, ever, even in pictures, seen how much Star Wars Cole had. And we'll head into this real soon. But I've never seen so much Star Wars in one place. Like I know you're looking at this right now and going, that's not a lot of Star Wars, mate. But bro, when we get into it and we're starting to head that way, so a bit more car stuff, you'll notice the Ertel Batmobiles up the top. Old Batman sitting on the recliner. Some Motu Funko Pops. And then here is Cole's sorting table. That was a magical mystery tour when I found that thing. And I think I spent a good 20 minutes or something just looking at stuff on that table. So that's where, when he has a whole bunch of loose parts and stuff, he'll come and dump it onto this table and go through it all. Yeah, that guy, one of the Black Major Halloween specials. That was cool. Puts it down on an Exo Squad box. Can't remember. I think that was Monster High. And then this area was just for Disney stuff. Had some of those bigger car sets. They were real nice to look at. Particularly the Ecto. Hot Wheels area. And then we started hitting the Star Wars. Like really hitting the Star Wars. So check that out. That's vintage collection, I believe. The sail barge. The Ghost from Ahsoka. Slave One. That AT-AT, I've never even seen that before. Didn't even know it existed. Some of the pieces that Cole had in his shop, they would have a not for sale sticker on them. So that sort of shows you as well. He does like toys and just likes to look at them. Falcon, that thing, I quite like that. Death Star. Razor Crest. And I just couldn't believe how many figures. I thought this was it, actually. Going through this, I'm like, man, so many figures. And this was just the start. So pretty much if you collect this stuff and you're missing one or two, just go and give Kyle a call or go into his shop. And I would find it ridiculous if you can't find what you're looking for in his shop. I will note at this stage, this is not a paid promotion. I know it sounds like it. I just really, really like this shop. And it was, I did the respectful thing and asked Kyle if I could film in his shop first. He said some people have just walked in and just started filming and, made it all about them. Whereas I thought, nah, ask him first and be happy with whatever he decides. He was happy for me to do it. So more Star Wars. Got those retros. I actually like the retros just because I find the newer stuff very fidgety, the articulated ones. But that retro stuff is just nice. It's as close to the originals as we can get, just because of the points of articulation. The prototypes down there. Had to move a little bit of box to get in there. He had an upstairs area, which he didn't want people to go in, so I stayed out of there. And then more Star Wars. This is where I learnt my lesson about lighting, because I had none. And whilst, Kyle's done a terrific job of getting this all lit up, just not being used to my GoPro, it was a bit difficult. So I just trooped on and tried my best. It's all part of being a toy tuber, right? Or a YouTuber in general, is just learning the skills of your equipment. The Cabbage Patch. There's actually a lot of Star Wars stuff I'd never seen before as well. It was quite humbling seeing stuff in this shop. It's like the Dunning-Kruger effect. If you don't know what that is, go Google that. But that's how it felt to me, was I didn't realize how little I knew about toys until I walked into this shop and saw everything that existed. Some beautiful stuff. And I know you're like, hey, Frosty, I know you said there was a lot of Star Wars, bro. Mate, that's still just the start. This just kept going on. Let me know in the comments if you've seen bigger collections than this, wherever you're from. I'm really expecting a lot of the American audience to say, yeah, this is pretty normal for us. But certainly I've never seen anything like this before. So Cole had pretty much like aisles devoted to lines of Star Wars. I've seen a few of those ones, for sale, say on Facebook Marketplace, but not to the extent that they were in here. Just beautiful. And then, that looks like another line, and then go a little bit further on and look like another line again. I didn't ask about it, but, I'm sort of wondering now, has he gone that extra step and actually set all this up in years? I've seen those before, but not to this extent. That was me sort of dancing around the floor a little bit, just making sure I don't trip on anything. It's the last thing you want to do, right, is be filming in someone's shop and you crush something. That was really cool. The X-Wing with, all the moss and stuff all over it. I think another thing now that I'm thinking about it as well is this was not like a dust-covered palace or anything. You'd expect with all of this sitting around like this to be really dusty, and it just was not the case at all. Cole keeps all this in just great condition and very presentable. Slave layer there. And I definitely found as well with the things that I bought, that Cole was very reasonable. He was happy to take offers, and I just suggest, like anywhere, if you're going to offer a price to someone, try and make it reasonable and have a reason why you want that price if it's not reasonable. He was more than happy to talk about things. I actually thought that bear was initially like Splinter from Ninja Turtles or something, but yeah, it was just a rando vintage bear, maybe a Paddington or something. A whole bunch of Monster High stuff. This is obviously the girls section. It's a very decent assortment of Monster High stuff. Sorry about the lighting. This is where it got, a bit average. But I'll get there. I sort of become a little bit mind numb at this stage, like just so much Star Wars, like it was, it's just weird. It's hard for your brain to consider how much Star Wars there was. So it's when I see things like this, that's where I sort of feel, what toy shop in Australia is bigger than this? What has this range? What has, the great mix between, and it's actually, yeah, it's a mix, but it's not vintage and modern. It's vintage to modern. Because obviously, like, I don't feel that there's nothing between vintage and modern. You've got an entire range between vintage and modern. In my opinion, at least. These were cool. The coin cards. Starkiller. the comic packs. I just don't know, like, if you come into this place with money to spend and you like toys, there's no way you could walk out without buying something. There's just too much stuff there to ignore. Those real nice hollows. I managed to find some Slave Leia. $40 for that's very reasonable, I believe. The action figure sets, they're great. And, you know, I've done a video previously on the Death Troopers. Gotta love the old Big W prices. $16 for that thing back in the day. Shadow of the Empire stuff. The old Phantom Menace stuff. Even watching this back now, like, I'm still can only think to myself, like, the amount of effort Cole's put in to get all this displayed and available for people. There's so much stock. So much Star Wars. There are a few random tubs sitting around, and, you know, that's for a fan old mate from Arco, the other world. Always try and pick those guys up if I find any. There were a few muscle figures in there as well. Like I said, Bevan Davey, the lead of Toys R Us, he'll love that. Happy with those. I'll show you those when I show you the rest of the stuff that I bought at the end of the video. This was like the big sort of Simpsons pop vinyl area. And like I said earlier, you know, I'm sort of going a bit off the old pop vinyls, but it was really nice seeing this Simpsons stuff. In particular, that Mr. Burns. Just some really nice figures. The upstairs area, there's a Jawa. I tried to sort of video what I could of that upstairs area. I'd say he's getting that prepared for stock up there. Modern Star Wars stuff, vintage collection stuff. That was cool. I love that stuff. I don't buy a lot of it because, you know, you got to keep focus on what you're actually collecting, but I do like it. Old G.I. Joe lunchbox. Some soft toys. Star Wars pop vinyls. Just so many. More Star Wars. So all in all, I would say probably a third of that shop was Star Wars. And you've seen how big that shop is. So we came back around the corner. And more pop vinyls, more Motu stuff in particular. And then this was, pretty much the girls' area. So you've got the My Little Ponies. Some really nice stuff in there. Very well presented. And then as we went up, we hit a few of the Care Bears. Some Smurfs. Definitely remember those from childhood. Rainbow Brights. Strawberry Shortcakes. And we went on to Transformers. There wasn't a massive amount of stock Transformers-wise, I will say. And that's okay. He still had some pretty cool stuff there, though. I found a bit of stuff on that counter, actually. Random assortment of stuff. I found a few things on there and took them up to the counter. And then this area, that massive Ecto up the top there, that was cool. That G.I. Joe sign. I just went straight to it. Check out the end of the video if that makes the cut. It was metal. A bit more of the modern Transformers stuff. Still more. There's more that G1 Transformers that I was looking for and didn't find. Bit of Ghostbusters stuff. That was pretty much the Ghostbusters area. We went into this area, some G.I. Joe stuff. And that's what I meant. Like, you got to look around the entire shop. Because, yes, he did have a massive corner devoted to G.I. Joe stuff, but there was also stuff in other places. Some more Transformers stuff. In particular, this Alternators Hound. That was cool to see. The Dirge as well. Really like Dirge. Old Mate Manosaur and Devastator. You had some Lord of the Rings figures there. I pretty much just walked straight by those. Nemesis Prime, I believe. And I found this old Paralyzer box. And that was cool. Just the box only. I'd say that price was left over from when it actually had the Paralyzer in it. And then that beautiful piece on the ground, I don't know what happened with that. I meant to ask him about why it had the camo on it, but just didn't get around to it. More Lord of the Rings stuff. It does not pique my interest at all. All modern Transformers. Version of Superion. And these were just sort of random figs. More Star Wars stuff. Spawn. More Star Wars stuff. Into the Motus. Bit of He-Man. It's always great to see a bit of Motu hopping up in the shops. And once again, there was stuff here I'd never seen before. A bit of Star Wars. Cole just seemed to have everything there. Everything you could possibly want. I'd say probably the least amount of stuff he had was girl stuff. Bit of Marvel Legends. There was parts of the shop that, you definitely had to go and have a look around, because I found a few Joe things in random spots, but, that's part of the cool hunt, right? A bit of vintage Star Wars there as well. Mortal Kombat was good to see. And a bit of modern Star Wars there. There was models behind that stuff. I actually did not even notice that 3 to 4 hours went past whilst walking around this shop. There was just so much stuff to see. The Gentle Giant stuff, in particular, Blue Snag. That was like a cool Sand Trooper action figure kit that, it had all the clothes. You could sort of dress him up. And I, at this point, started heading into the DC area of the shop. I didn't know it, but Kyle is quite the DC fan. And that was evident with, how much DC stuff was actually there. I've never seen that much DC stuff in one place. He was at one point excitedly telling me about, one of the larger play sets for vintage DC, and it was really cool to just hear like how Kyle described it. Like he was just so excited, like a kid should be, talking about his toys. That's the kind of guy you want running a toy shop like this. Is someone who's not there to make a buck. He's there to sort of pass on that nostalgia and have somewhere available to buy it. Because we can all just buy online, right? But point is this is Kyle's dream, and I like the thought of going in and supporting people's dream just by taking the time to chat with them and also spend a bit of money in the shop. Like I said, at the end of this, I'll go through exactly what I bought that day. I spent about $300. So it was nice to drop that in his shop. So I'll Stitch the Care Bear and that Fun Bear from Toy Story sitting on the couch. That Lego Black Star set looked cool as well. You had this cabinet filled with some Snoopy stuff. And that's the thing with Kyle's shop is, if you go looking for toys, you're probably going to find what you're after. You just got to have a look around. This was a great display of modern Star Wars stuff. There's some more DC stuff. I really like how Cole's gone to the effort of, making the little name tags up for each character. Hall of Justice is what he was talking about earlier. He was very excited about that, and that was great to see. The old pens from Macca's. That Batman's really sweet. I think it's a Frank Miller one, but not sure. I'm definitely not a DC connoisseur. I do like the 1989 Batman stuff, but that's sort of where I stop. Big Shazam poster up there. And this area here was, he had a bit of it. That's his turtle area. So that was all of the turtle stuff. I don't remember him having a lot of vintage turtle stuff, but he had a lot of general stuff. I just really respect the availability of so many different toys in this shop. All up the top there were models, military models, and then pops. I'm still not sure where the pop thing is heading. I have what I would consider more pops than I need, but I don't want to get rid of them because they're not really at high prices. So I figure I'd just rather hang on to some of them. I very cheekily walked behind one of the counters there just to get a closer look at the cabinets. And he had some amazing stuff behind here. So Kyle, if you're watching this, sorry. I was very respectful though. I just got in, took some video and got out. That Street Fighter collection is pretty much what dragged me in there. I just wanted to get closer to see that. Absolutely beautiful. Last 17 figures. I do really like that vintage Star Wars stuff. So, yeah. That was a big tub of modern Transformers. And in particular, I saw the blaster down the bottom. I do like me the blaster. The old Macca's Transformers. He had trading cards as well, but, not as many as what you can see. I'm holding that Arco, the Otherworld figure in there. I found that randomly around the shop. Bevan Davey of the Australian Toys R Us group. You'll be liking those figures. Yeah, so he had nowhere near as many trading cards as the Collecticon did. So, this was much more enjoyable experience actually seeing a whole bunch of toys rather than a whole bunch of cards. But I do understand how a lot of you guys do like Pokemon, so. And then you just had a stack of vintage mock Star Wars there. Just amazing. You had these two awesome World of Warcraft figures, Jaina Proudmoore and oh mate, you are not prepared. Illidan. Had a mental break there for some reason. Some cool vehicles in the case. And then back over to this area. So some cars. You had the big comic stack in the middle. There were a few random boxes sitting there, obviously ready for sorting. I do feel sorry for Cole. So much work for him to do, and he's doing his best. Some of the stuff was just so well displayed. Some old Simpsons stuff. Once again, go and check out Shaneco HD's channel. He is an excellent dude who lives in Penrith. So I'm always assured of catching up with him whenever I head that way, if there's a toy fair on. Yeah, what a massive shot.
Okay, so all in all, it was a terrific trip to Penrith. I got to go to the Collecticon and I got to visit Second Childhood Toys, which just, it was a really special weekend for me. Catching up with Kyle, I really want to thank Kyle for letting me film in his shop. He's a terrific guy and a real pillar of the toy community, in my opinion. If you get a chance and you're anywhere near Penrith, which is, Sydney area, go check him out. It's definitely worth the trip. So we're going to go through the stuff that I bought off Kyle that day. And first of all, and I think best of all, was this comic. G.I. Joe number 21, Image Comics 03. Signed by Michael Turner and Peter Steigerwald. I am a massive Michael Turner fan, and this was just a kick-ass piece to get. $100. Kyle actually said this had been sitting there for a year or two. I couldn't believe it. $100 for a signed Turner G.I. Joe comic. Absolutely beautiful. So this has now become one of the most treasured pieces in my collection, in my entire G.I. Joe collection. Just excellent. Thank you so much for that, Kyle. Next up, he had a couple of pieces in his cabinet, which I have owned before and sold and needed to get again. So these Danger Girl pieces, he did an absolute amazing price for these for me. I'm very appreciative. Let's see, that goes that way. So this is Natalia Castle. I absolutely love these figures. J. Scott Campbell works. What's the date on it? Can't make that out. Yeah, I think I actually own these in about 2000-ish. McFarlane Toys. Just really nice. Now he had, there's 4 figures in this set. There's the 3 Danger Girls and the big villain boss, which I think was Maxim, something like that. I've owned these before in mock form, but you don't need these in mock. You actually want to display them. So yeah, I ended up getting these 3 figures for $100, and I'm so happy with it. Once again, thanks so much, Kyle. I will be displaying the absolute pooper out of this. Such a great piece. So that's that one. The next Danger Girl. Be careful. Hanging on for dear life. This is Sydney. Nothing else left on that one. Sydney Savage. remember. Yeah, I like that one. Yeah. These are old McFarlane toys. They were just done so well. The detail's fantastic. Let's get all these other focus points out of the way. Sydney Savage. She's got the whip. Let's get her lined up. That front. And of course, you get your little koala. Come on, you bastard. Focus. And he sits just up on one of these posts like that. So yeah, that's the second one. And then the main character. Which is Abby Chase. It goes down there. And he goes in. It's actually a really nice touch. I don't know if you can see it, but just when you're pushing all this stuff in, it goes in one way. So you can't muck this up. It's really beautiful settings. Whoever designed these just did an excellent job. Really well done. Got your little snake wandering around. Let's put her in. There's that at the back. Looks a bit raunchy on the old bust there. I do not remember it being like that. Yeah, just excellent. You'll actually see, if you go back and watch the video, because you probably didn't notice, but there was a Danger Girl mock, and that's the cabinet where these got pulled from. So now they'll be going into my cabinet. Okay, picked up my two guys from Arco The Other World. That made me really happy. I'll add them into the cabinet as well. I just recently bought a new cabinet from IKEA, and that's where I've been putting stuff that isn't Motu, Transformers, G.I. Joe, or Star Wars. This guy, you saw me playing with this in the video. I did get it. I actually pulled it down and took it over to him and said, "Bro, how much for this?" And he said, "Oh, you found my sign." And for a second there, like you could see the look in his eyes of, Jesus, I don't want to sell this. And I said to him, you know, you are in the business of making money, right? And he said, yes, yes. He laughed, and I think we got down to $15 for this. As in, that's the price he offered. And for me, I was more than happy with that. And what got this for me is the Konami down the side here. So I reckon this has actually come off the old G.I. Joe game where you were forward scrolling. So I think that's saying 1992. I don't know what else Konami did with G.I. Joe that would cause them to make a metal sign. So that might be a bit of research for me. But yeah, really happy with that too. Next up, I got this Baroness. It's the PCS Premium Collectibles Studio Baroness. I reckon I'll probably open this up on my members channel just to take a closer look at it. I wasn't too impressed with the face mold, but I asked him if he'd do $65 and he did that. So more than happy. That was a quick throw into the bag for $65. I've already got the Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow of this. They were a nice release at a really good price. If you haven't seen them before, like that's the brand there, PCS. Can't see that too well. No, it doesn't want to focus. But yeah, PCS, and it's licensed by Hasbro. So yeah, thanks for the good price on that, mate. He had a few of these sitting around, and I thought, why not? I think he charged me $10 or something for this, 15 or $10, and it's just a really nice place to display your ninjas. Just a great display. I actually also wanted to grab it so I could try and just make one myself from my 3D printing. For that price, I was pretty happy with it. What do we got? 2004 Hasbro. It does come with two spears that sit up the front here. So we'll keep that off and we'll go through the last bag. Now, he had this sitting on his sort table. A Cobra surveillance port. All in all, it's in pretty good condition, apart from two of the points have snapped off. So I grabbed it anyway, and I think we did $25 on this. He found another leg and another leg and the antenna and one of the guns. So yeah, I don't have this yet. So for $25, I was real happy with that. I'll try my best to fix this up. I'd say I'm going to have to drill into that to try and remove it, or just super glue these suckers on. See how we go. So that was that. Here are the two spears for this. Two of these, and they just go in the front like that. So that is cool. And then on the sorting table, I found a crap load of parts. So some camouflage, they were cool, included in the mocks back in the day. Some Tomahawk bombs, so they're great. I'll be able to add them to my Tomahawk. A Devilfish torpedo. So that's off the surveillance port. And weirdly, a bomb front, cannon front, whatever, for thrust, G1 thrust. This thing from one of the play sets, can't remember off the bat which one, but I don't have it. And a couple of micro machines, which I'm absolutely in love with at the moment. I think we did 2 of these micro machines for $5, so I was super happy with that price. They'll go straight into the collection. Is that a Camino? Is that what this is? And then all these parts, all this stuff here was like $10. He's an absolute legend with his parts. So yeah, that's the lot. That's what I grabbed from him. Definitely happy with that Snake Eyes signed Turner. That's the kicker. But yeah, if you get a chance, go up and visit Kyle at Second Childhood Toys. Find him on Facebook. Find him on the net, on eBay, wherever you can find him, and buy some stuff off him. Support local business. Support a man just trying to make his dream work. But yeah, thank you so much, Kyle, for letting me film in your shop. Thank you to all of my audience who keep coming back to watch the videos. I really appreciate it. So until the next video, everyone, stay frosty.